Good evening, children. So, in the last class, we discussed about Akbar, his victory in the Second Battle of Panipat, his policy of conquest, and the extension of his empire, and his liberal religious policy. Today, we'll discuss about his religious policy along with what he did. So now Akbar, as we have discussed in the previous class, that he was a very liberal minded person. So to bring the people of different faith together, he built a house of worship that is known as Ibadat Khana. So what is Ibadat Khana? So Ibadat Khana is a house of worship built by Akbar where religious discussions were held, and the religious scholars of different faith were invited, like the ulemas from the Muslim faith, the learned Brahmins, the Buddhist bhikshus, the Jain munis, and as well as the Christian missionaries, along with Parsi scholars. All these learned persons of different religious faith, they come here in this Ibadat Khana and they discuss about religion, the good and the bads. And in this religious discussion that was held in the Ibadat Khana, Akbar himself used to attend these discussions. And from these discussions, he also understood that religion can be used for disunity and as well as for unity. Because when those religious scholars, when they argue or when they debate, he saw many pros as well as cons. Pros means good, cons means bad. So after knowing about religion, Akbar himself decided that to introduce a new religion, and that religion was known as Din Ilahi. Now Akbar introduced this Din Ilahi to bring the people of India together, and he did not force people to join this Din Ilahi. In fact, anyone from any religion can come and follow Din Ilahi. But whosoever follows Din Ilahi have to follow certain rules. So, the characteristics or what every followers of Din Ilahi must follow are that, number one, remember this point, that they have to abstain from eating meat for at least a few days in a year. Abstain means they cannot eat meat for a few days in a year. Then they also have to practice charity. Now, charity means to give alms to the poor or the needy. Then the person who follows Din Ilahi also cannot marry a minor girl. Then the practice of sati was also disapproved in this religion, that is Din Ilahi. You know what is sati? So sati was a practice followed by Hindus in the medieval period, that when the husband dies, then the wife must burn herself alive on the pyre. And thus, this Din Ilahi was a symbol of Akbar's liberalism. Now, this religion did not or was not able to take a strong foothold at that time. The reason is because Akbar did not force anyone to follow Din Ilahi. Only a few joined or followed this religion, and other reasons why people did not join or follow this religion, Din-e-Ilahi, was they fear that if they follow or join Din-e-Ilahi, then they might lose their own religion. And soon after Akbar's death, this religion came to an end because there was no one to propagate the religion further, and this religion ended. So, till here, what we have learned in this chapter today. So, we learned about Ibadat Khana. So, what is Ibadat Khana? So, Ibadat Khana is a house of worship built by Akbar where religious discussions were held. Then we also learn about Din-e-Ilahi. So what is Din-e-Ilahi? So Din-e-Ilahi was a religion introduced by Akbar. What were the highlights, or what were the characteristics, or what should people follow whoever joined Din-e-Ilahi? That also we have discussed, and those are that anyone who follows Din-e-Ilahi cannot marry a minor girl, then they cannot practice sati, then they have to practice charity, and they have to abstain from eating meat for a few days in a year. Now we'll discuss about Akbar's relation with the Rajput. Now Akbar's relation with the Rajput was quite friendly, and he maintained a friendly relation so that his government or his kingdom could be stable. So he took some measures to achieve friendly relation with the Rajput. So for that, what he did? Number one, he married a Rajput princess, Jodhabai, and allowed her or gave her full freedom to follow her own religion. Then he also appointed many Rajput chiefs or kings as his minister, and many others he gave high position in his administration as well as in the army. And next, he also abolished those taxes which discriminates between the Hindus and the Muslims. As I have said earlier, one was the jizya tax, another one was the pilgrimage tax. Now, and Akbar also, after defeating the Rajput rulers, he also allowed those kings to rule their own kingdom, but in return, those kings have to accept Akbar as the king of kings, that is, their overlord. Now let's discuss about Akbar's administration. Now, in Akbar's administration, all the appointments of officers or ministers, or even dismissal of the officers or ministers, was done solely by Akbar, because he was the most powerful person in the entire administration. But although he had the absolute power, Akbar always did not act of his own. He used to take the advice and help of various officers and ministers. And few of his officers are such as Wazir, Bakshi, Qazi, Khana-e-Sanam, and Diwan. Now, who are these officers? Now, Wazir was an officer who advised the king on all matters of the state, from land revenue to taxes. Then Bakshi was a military advisor. Then Qazi was the chief judge, and Khana-e-Sanam was an officer who looks after the royal household, that entire palace, what's going on, who is cooking what is being cooked, all these things is being looked after by Khana-e-Sanam. And the Diwan used to look after the revenue affairs of the state. So the following were the officers who work under Akbar. Who are they? The Wazir, the Bakshi, the Qazi and Khana-e-Sanam, and also the Diwan. Now Akbar consulted his minister and nobles at Diwan-e-Khas, and he has also a separate house, that is Diwan-e-Am, where the common people can come and directly approach the king and tell him any complaint or their problems, and the king used to directly approach his subject, that is the people of his kingdom. So this was how Akbar attend his people and his minister. For his minister, he has a different house, that is Diwan-e-Khas, and for the common people, he has a different house known as Diwan-e-Am. Now, Akbar's entire kingdom was divided into Subhas, if you remember. Now, these are the provinces. Now, we'll discuss about provincial administration. So, Akbar divided his entire kingdom into 15 Subhas. Subhas means provinces. And in the present state, we can say the states that we have in India, Jammu and Kashmir, Assam. So, all these can be termed as Subhas in that time. And each Subhas or the provinces was under the charge of a Subedar or governor. Can be called as the Subedar, can be also called as governor. Then to help the Subedar, there was a Diwan who used to keep the records of all the revenues. Then each Subhas, apart from having a Subedar and Diwan, also has a Bakshi. Now remember Bakshi? Bakshi was an officer who used to look after the army. Then there was also a Kotwal who was basically the officer in charge of the city administration. Now the Kotwal used to keep the records of all person living in a city, including the foreign visitors who come there for trade and commerce. And even the weight and measures used by the merchants, by the traders for doing business was also inspected by the Kotwal. Then further, these Subhas were divided into Sarkars and Sarkars into Paraganas. So few of his Subhas were Allahabad, Agra, Audh, Ajmer, Ahmedabad, Gujarat, Bihar, and so on. The rest you can find it in the book in page number 57, the name of his Subhas. Now we'll discuss about Akbar's military administration. So if you remember, in the previous chapter, I told you that in the Mughal administration, the Mansabdari system was introduced by Akbar. Now what is Mansabdari system? So Mansabdari system is that where every officer was given a rank, and this rank was given according to the number of soldiers he keeps. So, and in fact the salary of the Mansab was also according to their rank. The more or the higher the rank is, the more or the high the salary is. So the few highlights of Mansabdari system or the characteristics of Mansabdari systems are that number one, every officer, army officer in Akbar's or during Akbar's rule was given a rank called as Mansab. Number two, every Mansab was given salary according to their rank or by the number of soldiers they maintain. Third, every Mansab or the Mansab have to keep soldiers ranging from 10 to 10,000. And lastly, every mansab also has to keep the records of the soldiers, the horses, or any other animals like elephants if they have, and time to time it has to be verified by the mansab. I hope you are clear up to here. That's all for today's lesson. Thank you.